Hello, and welcome back to Teacher Tips by Alessia's Academy. In today's teacher tip video, we'll be going through how to write a proper paragraph. There are three basic elements to any paragraph that you end up writing. The first is the point that you're going to be making. The second is the proof or the piece of evidence that you'll be using to help you prove that point. And the third is the explanation. So your explanation is really what ties that proof and point together, because you want to be persuading your audience to believe that what you're saying is true and impactful. Okay. So when you are making your point, the arguments that you make in your thesis are generally the points that you're making in your essay. So usually for high school, this is about 2 to 3 or so. You want to try and keep your point concise because you'll be explaining it in more detail later on in your paragraph. And it should also include some sort of transition from the previous paragraph. So never just dump one paragraph all on its own. You still need to have a flow to your essay, which is why these transitions and those sentences you use as your very first sentence in a paragraph and very last sentence in a paragraph are important. So your point should only be about 1 to 2 sentences altogether. The next part of your paragraph is the proof. So this is where you're showing evidence in your work, and you really want to explain to people why they should believe what you're trying to say. So, for example, you might not necessarily be someone who has studied this particular subject for the last 10 years and done all this research on it, but you can probably find someone who has. This is why it's important to find credible sources for your work, because those credible sources are what make you credible in your work. This should help you to prove the point that you're trying to make in your paragraph. So it needs to make sense for what you're trying to say. And your evidence only needs to be about 1 to 2 sentences. The third thing and final thing for your paragraph is your explanation. So this is really important because this is what ties everything together, right? So you tie together that proof and point that you're trying to make, and you're explaining exactly how the evidence you've chosen proves that point. The last sentence of your explanation should also try and explain how you're proving your overall thesis as well, and that'll help you strengthen your essay even more. So for an explanation, I would say you need to have at least 2 to 3 sentences in there to make sure that you're giving yourself enough space to sufficiently explain what you're trying to explain. So let's do a little bit of practice together. Let's say that our essay topic was examine the effects of sleep on our health. And for our thesis, we could say that sleep has a significant impact on our physical, mental, and emotional health, which is why it is important to get good sleep at night. This is the paragraph that we've written as one of our arguments for this particular essay. We're going to break it down into those 3 steps we just talked about. So the first is the point. Good sleep is the foundation of good physical health, because the same way that sleep can help us, it can also be harmful when people do not get enough of it. Sleep impacts physical health significantly because it has been shown to impact immune function, heart health, and many other crucial functions in the human body. Okay, so we're to the point, concise, 2 sentences, and that first sentence is giving us that transition from the previous paragraph before. Next is the piece of proof. So according to the Sleep Foundation, lack of sleep has been linked to a higher risk for type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, poor mental health, and early death, which is why it is crucial to be sleeping for at least 7 hours each night. People who want to be physically healthy will not be able to do so if they do not spend the time that they need to properly rest each night. Okay, so Sleep Foundation is our credible source that we're using. We've chosen to use APA, which is why you see that number 1, because we're using footnotes for this particular example. Okay, but this is what makes us credible for what we're talking about in our paragraph. And then finally, we have our explanation. So different stages of sleep throughout the night help the body to slowly relax each part of itself, which is why people tend to feel rejuvenated after proper sleep. Proper sleep not only decreases the chance of developing diseases, but it will also increase the ability for the body to perform at its optimal level, something that an athlete would need for their particular field of work. If people do not sleep for at least 7 hours each night, there will be a significant impact on their physical health. So notice how even in that final sentence, we're tying it all the way back to how sleep impacts our overall health that we've argued in our thesis. Okay. Now, one thing that I would suggest when you're writing your paragraphs is to actually highlight these different sections for yourself so that you can give yourself a visual cue of each element of the paragraph itself so that you can get a better idea of whether or not you need to add or edit anything. So here for this example, I've used red as the highlight for the point. I've used blue as the highlight for our piece of proof. And I've chosen to use purple as the highlight for our example. So if it helps, we'll use a little bit of a color scheme example here. So we know that red plus blue equals purple. And so by making that explanation purple, it helps us to remember that we need to be tying those two ideas together in the explanation. Okay. And that is your tips for how to write a proper paragraph.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope you found it helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos that teach you how to learn for life and get through school while taking care of yourself. Until next time, see you soon.